Turkey is once again on the edge, gripped by mass protests after the stunning arrest of Istanbul's Mayor Ekrem Imamoglu, a towering opposition figure and one of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's fiercest rivals. The move has sent political shockwaves through the country, fueling outrage over what many see as Erdogan's tightening grip on power and relentless push toward authoritarianism. With tension soaring and the streets ablaze with dissent, the arrest has reignited fears that Turkiye is veering further toward an Islamist state under Erdogan's rule. In a world where there is conflict, there are questions of rise of Islamist fundamentalism. How will this constant shift in Turkiye really impact not just the country, but also the region and the world? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. Since rising to power in the year 2003, first as Prime Minister and later as President, Erdogan steadily reshaped Turkey's secular identity. Once known as a bridge between East and the West, a secular democracy rooted in the ideals of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, Turkey under Erdogan has increasingly embraced conservative Islamic policies. From restrictions on alcohol sales to crackdown on LGBTQ+ communities and efforts to elevate religious institutions, Erdogan has subtly but decisively moved Turkey toward a more Islamist governance model. Critics argue that the latest move, arresting Imamoglu ahead of critical elections, is yet another step in his broader plan to consolidate power, crush opposition, and cement his vision of an authoritarian Islamic state. So what's happening? On the 19th of March this year, Turkish authorities detained Imamoglu on charges of corruption and alleged links to terrorist organizations, specifically the Kurdistan Workers' Party. The timing of his arrest is highly questionable. He was expected to be nominated as the opposition's strongest candidate against Erdogan in the upcoming elections. State-controlled media has painted Imamoglu's detention as part of an anti-corruption crackdown, but opposition leaders and protesters see it for what it truly is: a desperate attempt to eliminate Erdogan's most formidable challenger.
I want to ask you about the domestic political situation in your country. The Istanbul mayor was arrested. Members related to him were given detention orders. And ever since, Erdogan lost elections last year, we've seen this political atmosphere building in the country where opposition is not really given a voice. And you are the voice of opposition. So tell us, how do you look at those developments?
Well, first of all, it's true and it's unfortunate that the mayor of Istanbul, Mr. Ekrem Imamoglu, got arrested early this morning, and he was arrested very early in the morning, and 100 policemen were at his residence. So unfortunately, this instance is an attack on Turkish democracy and the will of the Turkish people, because Mayor Ekrem Imamoglu is a democratically elected politician and a mayor, and he's the only challenger to the current status quo and the current administration. So it seems that there is a witch hunt going on against Ekrem Imamoglu, and there is a judicial harassment that has been going on in Turkey against Mayor Imamoglu. These all demonstrate that there is a democratic backsliding in our country, Turkey. Unfortunately, this has been the case. We have been surprised and shocked. And and indeed yesterday, Mayor Imamoglu's college diploma has been revoked. So these are the steps to disqualify him, so he would not be eligible to run as a presidential candidate. And we were, as CHP, People's Republican Party of Turkey, we were planning to nominate him this Sunday in our primary elections, to nominate him as the presidential candidate of our party. So this is also a strategic move, strategic assault against our party and the will of our citizens.
This isn't the first time Erdogan's government has targeted Imamoglu. In 2019, when Imamoglu won the Istanbul mayoral election, which was a significant defeat for Erdogan's AK party, also known as the Democratic and Justice Party, the result was annulled under dubious circumstances. Imamoglu won again in a rerun election, further humiliating Erdogan and solidifying himself as a political threat. Now, his arrest suggests that Erdogan is no longer willing to take electoral risks. Instead, he is resorting to outright suppression.
9 Ekim gününden beri adaleti katletmeye, başta partimiz olmak üzere tüm muhalefete saldırmaya, bunları haber yapanları da suçlu görmeye, tweet atanı suçlu görmeye, beğeni yapanı suçlu görmeye, ifadeye çağırmaya, hapse atmaya, bizleri yıldırmaya ve bıktırmaya çalışıyor. Bunu yapmasının sebebi 31 Mart seçimlerinin Recep Tayyip Erdoğan tarafından hazmedilmemiş olmasıdır. Milletin verdiği mesajı almamıştır. Yenilmeyi kabullenememiştir. Güya yenilmezdi. Bütün meşrutiyetini sandıktan alıyordu. Her sandık önceden yaptıklarını ibra ediyor, temizliyor. Bundan sonra yapacaklarını alan açıyordu. 31 Mart'ta partisinin kurulduğu günden beri ilk kez kaybetti, ikinci parti oldu. İstanbul'u kaybeden Recep Tayyip Erdoğan Türkiye'yi kaybedecekti. İstanbul'u kazanan Ekrem İmamoğlu da Türkiye'yi kazanacaktı. İşte bu ruh hali, işte bu psikoloji, işte bu hazımsızlık. Her şeyi, geldiği her makamı borçlu olduğu milletin kararına hürmetsizliği, saygısızlığı tanımamayı. Öyle ya, demokrasi trendi, işine geldiği yere kadar binmişti, işine gelen istasyonda inecekti. Demokrasi treninden indi, darbecilerin safına o istasyonda katıldı.
The news of Imamoglu's detention ignited an immediate backlash. In Istanbul, Ankara, and other major cities, thousands took to the streets despite a government-imposed ban on demonstrations. Chants of "Down with the dictator" and "Justice for Imamoglu" rang out as protesters clashed with police. Security forces deployed tear gas, water cannons, and rubber bullets to disperse the crowds. But the resistance continues to grow. This wave of protests mirrors the massive Gezi Park protests of 2013, when Erdogan first faced nationwide unrest over his increasingly autocratic rule. However, this time, the stakes are even higher. Turkiye's opposition is more fractured than ever, and Erdogan has spent years tightening his grip on the judiciary, law enforcement, and media, leaving little room for dissent. Many now fear that these protests, no matter how large, will be met with an iron fist. Beyond political oppression, Erdogan's tenure has been marked by a gradual but undeniable shift toward Islamic conservatism. His government has systematically dismantled secular institutions, promoted religious education, and positioned itself as a leader of the Muslim world. Erdogan frequently invokes Ottoman nostalgia, portraying himself as a modern-day sultan reclaiming Turkiye's Islamic heritage. This transformation is evident in policies that suppress secular freedoms. The once powerful military, a guardian of Turkiye's secularism, has been purged of high-ranking officials critical of Erdogan. The judiciary is packed with loyalists who prioritize Islamic law over democratic principles. Erdogan has also aggressively targeted the media, shutting down independent outlets and imprisoning journalists who criticize the regime. Women's rights have also suffered. Erdogan's government withdrew Turkiye from the Istanbul Convention, an international treaty aimed at protecting women from domestic violence. He has openly stated that women should have at least 3 children and has promoted policies that encourage them to stay at home rather than pursue careers. Additionally, his government has cracked down on LGBTQ+ rights, banning pride marches and labeling homosexuality as a Western import that threatens Turkish values. Erdogan's drift toward dictatorship and Islamic nationalism has also strained Turkey's relationship with the West. Once a serious contender for European Union membership, Turkey is now viewed as a rogue state with authoritarian tendencies. The US and European leaders have condemned Imamoglu's arrest, but their leverage over Erdogan remains limited. Turkey's strategic location and role in NATO make it difficult for Western powers to take decisive action without risking geopolitical fallout.
The mayor of Istanbul is the second most important elected post in Turkey after the presidential office, because the ministers in Turkey is right now being appointed, not elected, after the change of the political system from parliamentary to the presidential system. And in this regard, the post of the mayor of Istanbul is the second most important post in the country. And what has happened is, therefore, has the potential and will have the potential to upend the whole political picture in the country, the relation between the opposition and government. Right now, the biggest implication of this on this like electoral calculation is the fact that Imamoglu, which was seen probably as the most credible rival and alternative or contender for Erdogan in the upcoming presidential election, is him being taken out of the picture. So in a sense, that will mean the elimination of his probably most credible or the most powerful political rival. Political energy that was going to support Imamoglu now probably will support another candidate that opposition might put forward, because the sense of discontent, the anger, probably will channel this energy to be directed to whoever is going to be on the opposition candidate. So in a sense, now the climate for such a broader new form of relationship between Europe and Turkey will be very poisoned, will be very affected by what has just happened. So in a sense, we might still see the defense industry and the security cooperation, geopolitical cooperation, but that might not extend to other fields that will be very much beneficial for Turkey.
However, Erdogan's growing alliance with Russia and his increasing aggressive foreign policy, such as military interventions in Syria and Libya, suggest that he is willing to pivot away from West entirely. His government's embrace of political Islam and hostility towards secular democratic norms signal a transformation that could reshape not just Turkiye but also the broader region. While on the one hand, Erdogan might have played his cards right when it comes to broader geopolitics of aligning itself with countries to ensure it's not muzzled by the West. But on the other hand, the arrest of Ekrem Imamoglu may have been designed to eliminate a political opponent, but it has inadvertently ignited a resistance movement. Protests are growing, and Turkey's opposition is rallying behind a common cause: the fight for democracy. The question now is whether people of Turkey can withstand the full force of Erdogan's authoritarian machine. As Erdogan tightens his grip, the world is watching whether if Turkey will descend into a full dictatorship or whether if people would be able to reclaim their democracy. Thank you for watching Statecraft.